There's a couple of different steps that you need to do as far as getting your rooms. And it's not just, even though we call it classroom preparation, this is any room in your building. And one of the main things you need to do is to create a safe zone. So every single faculty member, every staff member who has a space in that room, in that building, needs to walk out of their rooms, close the door. If you have glass on the door, which all instructional spaces are required to have, is to look at the highest angle you can get to see where is my safe zone in the room. If you want to take the additional step of actually marking that space by either putting something on the ceiling, tape on the floor, or objects so that you train everybody who utilizes that room to say, everything from here over is good. Everything on this side is bad. And we've seen it done a couple different ways. So set up the safe zones in your room. It's important that every room have one. If they don't, they need to notify whoever's your facility person to say, I have no safe zone, what can we do? Are we getting a temporary blind that we drop in an emergency? Do we need to trim down the glass a little bit? Communications. Where are phones typically, if you have them in your rooms, located? By the door. The worst possible place for a lockdown situation, they're by the door. So the takeaway with that is that if you're going through a project where you might be putting phones in, you might be putting voice over IP phones in, you might be doing a retrofit, is to make sure that you don't put those phones back by the door. Have them drop those phones in your safe zone. Does it really matter if it's over in the corner as opposed to the door? No. Now you have communications in that particular safe zone. If you need to utilize it, you could, including accessing the PA system and implementing a lockdown in the building if you have a lockdown panic system in your buildings. The other thing is that if you do have these radios that we spoke about, or any type of radio that they sit in a charger, put those in the safe zone as well. We'll talk about the glass for a second here. You have on here, you have these drop-down shades here. They're in the up position all the time. This particular one was developed by some entrepreneurial teachers down south. All they are just pieces of felt with a button on them. As soon as you pull the button off, it drops down and covers the door. This door here, some buildings have this full pane of glass. It makes the safe zone much smaller. By simply just applying a film that obscures this glass in this red section here, now you've trimmed it down to your typical window size there that you need to observe instruction from the outside of the room. But in one way, shape, or form, if glass is creating a problem, you need to mitigate that glass. This is an interesting project that we recently did before. This is a cafeteria of one of the high schools that we work with. You see on here is that one of the issues that we raised was the fact of this. You can actually see the worker right there putting it up. When you approach that building, you see everybody in that cafeteria. There is no place to hide. Just by applying this particular tint on here, you can't see anything. If you were to step on the inside of that building, you'd never know there was tint on there. You still get the beautiful panoramic views of the campus that they have there. Another school that we work with, same type of thing. When you approach the school, here is all this visible glass that's here. You can see right into the cafeteria. This is a window tint. It looks like there's a wall there. That's the view from the inside. This is this. You can't even tell. That's window tinting. It's screen printed window tint, and it's not that expensive. Another application here. They added logos. You can do whatever you want. I don't have the picture of it, but one of the elementary schools had a main office that was like a fishbowl of glass. What they did was they had a contest. The kids did art. They screen printed all the artwork and made like a mural all the way around the office. So when now you look at the office, it's a mural of artwork, and you can't see out. So this is a great opportunity. And again, you can do stuff like this is the exit only. The main entrance is this way. It's a screen printing process. What it is, you can typically get this where they'll actually take a 3M product and actually print on it. But all it is that it has tiny little holes on it that makes it opaque from one side and transparent from the other. Virginia Tech, one of the things that came out when they were doing the debrief of Virginia Tech was that had rooms had these illegal door stops in them, they would have provided tremendous support for allowing that, preventing that person from breaching the door. This is a double-edged sword. You buy a $5 product like this that can only be utilized in emergency, and you tell people to chalk the door, so now if somebody tries to breach that door, they can't get in. Who else are they not going to be able to get in? Emergency services won't be able to get in either. So I just say that to bring that out in full disclosure, to be cautioned, but these door stops provide tremendous resistance when you're trying to open a door. More so even sometimes in some types of locks. Do we have the resources in our safe zones to keep kids occupied and passive? If they're not occupied, if they're panicking, they're not going to be quiet. So something as simple as having some type of streaming media in that space. Remember, we're talking about lockdowns that could be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 hours long. Do we have something in that space like books, games, streaming media that we can put into that space in those rooms to keep people occupied? There are also communication devices. Now you can email out if you had to. Again, we train to say, go in your safe zone, hunker in your safe zone, keep quiet, don't say anything. But when you're talking about 3, 4, 5 hours now, you need to have resources in those areas. And it's very simple just to say, we have a bookcase over there, put it in our safe zone. We have our computer set up in the front of the room, bring them back to the safe zone. Something simple that you can do to keep them occupied. The other issue, you have to have the sanitary issue as far as bathrooms and first aid supplies. There's a lot of companies that are making a lot of money making 5-gallon buckets from Home Depot into toilet bowls. And whether you go out there and you buy a pre-made product that's showed there for your classroom, and that's a toilet seat on top of a bucket, or you put something together for yourself, and it could be something as simple as a trash can, sheet, sanitary wipes, you have to consider the fact that you're going to need something like that if you're going multiple hours into a lockdown situation and have those supplies necessary. Do those spaces have any type of minor first aid kits in those spaces? The other thing is that as far as resources for an emergency, we go back to the point of, you got to keep it simple. General faculty is not going to have access to those 3-binder plans, 3-ring binder plans. What's a better solution is to have an emergency protocol flip chart. This was developed in collaboration with a number of our superintendents that we worked with to develop a flip chart that is designed that gives you each of the Simple 6 protocols plus some of the other common protocols. Put these in every single room. So now that they have a quick flip chart that they can actually respond and look at those to respond to those emergencies, because you're never going to remember.